Welcome back to internal security classes. So already we have learned about what is the importance of internal security and what kind of terms we should be using, along with one point, that is NSS, National Security Strategy. Why is it? What is it? And what are the challenges? How can we have a good NSS and the global examples, etc. So we'll revise again from the beginning, from first class, and then we'll get into the next concept. Okay, so I'll go a little fast here because we already understood all these things. So when we are making notes or the questions we are answering, then we should follow the pattern like this. First we should know the conceptual clarity we should have. So we define what is it and then explain how it is or why it is related to or relevant to internal security, and then we'll give a sufficient data to prove it. Right. Apart from that, we'll now start with internal security challenges. Whenever we talk about internal security challenges, one thing for sure we'll mention is terrorism and extremism. In that we have cross-border terrorism, then radicalization, then sleeper cells, etc. Then second one, insurgency and left-wing extremism. When we talk about insurgency and left-wing extremism, we'll talk about Naxalism and factors driving insurgency. Then we have cyber security threats, so data breaches and all we'll talk here. Then communalism and religious violence. So terrorism externally, internally we have left-wing extremism, and then technology-wise cyber security threats, and then communism and religious violence. So the next point is the role of external factors. When we talk on external factors, we'll be talking about cross-border terrorism such as proxy wars. When we talk about external factors, we should be also mentioning illegal migration, particularly Bangladesh and Myanmar migration to India, and organized crimes such as drug trafficking, human trafficking, arms smuggling, etc. Then fourth is government policies and initiatives. To talk about government policies, first we should be understanding institutional mechanisms such as the National Intelligence Agency, National Security Guard, and Intelligence Bureau, etc. Then talk about policy frameworks such as Unlawful Activity Prevention Act, and then National Cyber Security Policy, etc. Then definitely we'll talk about modernizing or modernization of a security forces. So security forces plus modernization is what we talk under government policies and initiatives. Then role of technology, then we talk about particularly technology. If you're talking for border management, we talk about surveillance. Surveillance, in that we should be talking about drones, satellites, biometric system and data analytics. Then artificial intelligence and machine learning. Under that we'll be talking about facial recognition, etc. Cyber defense measures, and that we have computer emergency force, that one is there, that is what we call a CERT-in, and then IT Act, those things we'll be talking. Then capacity building and training of a security forces. So how will you train them? First modernize the things, then border management you should do, strengthen the intelligent network. Then coordination and cooperation and integration is what the term I used. So in the coordination between central and state agencies, challenges we'll see, and then need for multi-agency centers we'll talk, and then the recent reforms. Finally, we'll talk about regional and global cooperation. Under that we talk about the SARC role, Indo-US, Indo-Russia, and UN role in countering a terrorism, etc. There are many other, but these are some. Then recommendation and way forward. Under that we say definitely on policy reform and cyber or technology upgradation and capacity building and public awareness ultimately. So we summarize with a visionary statement or a solution oriented approach. With that we decided we use certain data and reports, and we also use legal provisions, and then examples. Balanced approach is what we are going to use along with the global concerns. So these were the points to be noted whenever we study about internal security is what we decided. The second day we started with national security strategy in India. So even India should have national security strategy. For that, first we defined what is national security strategy. In that I said basic principle. It's a basic principle which will summarize the country's strategic vision and objectives regarding or safeguarding national interest is what we defined it as. And then why we need it? Why? Because responding to evolving threats. What are those threats? We have complex threats like proxy wars, we have technological advancements and gray zone warfare. So accordingly we have read about Ajit Doval novel also, or quote also, not novel, it's a quote. So what is it? The new frontier of war, what you call the fourth generation warfare is civil society. Then we went for Shiva Shankar Menon. He said about 3 attempts were made to come out with a national security strategy, but there was hesitation at the political level. These are the 2 quotes we read about NSS. Then current status, we had understood that there is a lack of formal NSS document in India, but we are following some of the government initiative. Through some of the government initiative, what are those? Defense initiative, we are modernizing. Example, we have given Agni 5 missile and Rafale aircrafts. Then we have said about cyber security. For that, Indian Computer Emergency Response Team 13 is what we are using. Also, National Cyber Security Policy 2013. For diplomacy, we are also strengthening our strength in Quad and BRICS, etc. Then internal security, we are using NIA and NSG for counter-terrorism. Also, we told geopolitical challenges we have and how we are facing. So, geopolitical challenges such as from China and cross-border terrorism from Pakistan and rising internal security issues such as nationalism. So, we said one data, that is India ranks 10th in global terrorism index. So, later we spoke about technological threats. We were saying there were 4 million cyber attacks reported in 2022. Global power realignments is what we spoke, and we said India plays a very important role when it is a multipolar world. So it's very important for India to have NSS is what we decided. So what are the challenges that are coming when we are trying to formulate NSS? So those was the next heading. So under that we studied like coordination problem. This was the important word is what I mentioned, that is interagency coordination issues. Then complex threat environment, resource allocation, because we allocate only 2% of our GDP, 2.2%, whereas other countries like China allocate 2.5 to 3% of its GDP. Then we have technological gap as well because of slow adaptation. There are some committees also which recommended for NSS. We read about those. What are those? Kargil Review Committee, Naresh Chandra Task Force on Security, and also we read like Raksha Mantri's operational directive has become outdated, so we have to revise it. So then we read about what are the recommendations for strong NSS, that is developing a comprehensive NSS document. Then we have to strengthen cyber security infrastructure. Also we thought like we have to modernize defense, and we also reinforce internal security mechanisms, and also we should have a good diplomatic engagements. Then we also seen the best practices for NSS across the world, such as US, Russia and China. Then we concluded even we should have a holistic approach in framing NSS, and also we should focus on institutionalizing NSS, and also we focus for collaboration of private sector too. So finally we ended with Shiva Shankar Menon's quote, that is coherent, coordinated and comprehensive national security strategy for India in 21st century. So this is all for the revision part. So for today we are starting with left wing extremism. Okay, this is our topic for today. Left wing extremism. We will take it slow moving forward because it's a new topic for today. So we already decided when we take one topic in internal security, we have to define what is it and how is it relevant to internal security. Yes. So the definition for this is what we should look now. So left wing extremism, it talks. Actually it's a political violence rooted in Marxist and Leninist ideology. So it is based on Marxist and Leninist ideology. What is this Marxist ideology? They talk for socialist society, right? So characterized by armed struggle. So it has a armed struggle. Its character is armed struggle based on Marxist and Leninist ideology against a state to advocate for socio-economic justice. So the key terms goes like this. What are the key terms? One second. So the key terms are this: Marxist and Leninist ideology based armed struggle. For what? Against state. For what? For socio-economic justice. So these are the keywords. So one keyword is it is based on Marxist-Leninist ideology and it's a armed struggle against state. Against whom? Against state. What kind of armed struggle? Based on Marxist and Leninist ideology. For what? For socio-economic justice. Got it? So now we see definition is done. Now we'll see the historical context. How it got developed is what we should understand now. So we'll see the emergence. The Naxalbari movement in West Bengal marked the genesis of left-wing extremism, focusing on empowering marginalized rural population. Now comes the question, what is this Naxalbari movement in West Bengal? So, in West Bengal, peasants started revolting against. Actually, Naxalbari is a village name. It comes near Siliguri at the junction of like Darjeeling, right? So they started their uprising against the government. So we see why they started or what is the reason for left wing extremism in later points. Okay. Then we'll see evolution. Over decades, left-wing extremism has spread to central and eastern India, leveraging socio-economic conditions conducive to insurgency. So later it got spread from that Naxalbari, West Bengal, later to eastern and central India also. So that was the historical context. Then we see why it will start, why left-wing extremism. So there are three important factors to be noted. So major factor will note. You can write n number of points here, but three major: socio-economic factors, political factors, and cultural factors. What are socio-economic factors? Obviously, when you talk about economics, you'll be talking about per capita, poverty, unemployment, underdevelopment, all these things. So first point is that only. Poverty and underdevelopment. Persistent poverty and underdevelopment or unemployment in rural areas fuel the discontent. So that is where we should focus on elevating poverty, right? So socio-economic, when you talk, you must talk about unemployment, underdevelopment and poverty. So what are the political factors? Ineffective governance, local authorities, lack of responsiveness foster alienation. So there should be a probity in governance and proper governance there. If there is ineffective governance, then comes the left-wing extremism. Then we have other important point, cultural factors. What are those? Marginalization of tribals. Here tribal discrimination has happened and inadequate governance representation push community towards left-wing extremism. When there is an issue among these marginal people and all, we should, as the governance, good governance, the issue has to be resolved. Otherwise, it leads to left-wing extremism. So, when we talk about cause, we should be talking about socio-economic because we already read in the definition. It is for the socio-economic justice. That means there is injustice going on. Socio-economic factors, cultural factors, and political factors we should mention. Right. So, with that, key regions we should be knowing. So, I already said it started with Naxalbari region, West Bengal. Then it spread to central and eastern India, particularly states like Chhattisgarh, Jharkhand, Odisha, Bihar and West Bengal. Okay. Geographical advantage was there. That is the reason why, because there was dense forest and rugged terrain provided strategic support for left-wing extremism, so that it is easy for them to hide and fight, right? So that is the geographical advantage they got from these states. Now we'll see the trend analysis of left-wing extremism. So this there is one point called decline in incidence. Recent years have seen a decline in violence due to enhanced security measures and community outreach. So now it is kind of reducing. Okay. One more thing is the trend is it is declining. First thing, it is a good thing to note. Second thing is shift in tactics. Left wing extremism groups are increasingly restoring to propaganda and digital platform to recruit and mobilize support. So now they are going for digital platforms, so to propagate their propaganda, etc. So we already read about data protection that we need under cyber security and all. So that is where it relates to internal security threats, right? So digital platform is what they are using as new tactic. Third one is emergence of new fronts. The intertwined of left-wing extremism with environmental and indigenous rights movement poses new challenge. Now we thought like left-wing extreme will be caused because of socio-economic injustice. Now it is taking new turn or addition turn into environment, also indigenous rights. If it's getting violated or if they are not having their rights, then they are also kind of combining with LWE, and then the issue is becoming complex. So it's the emergence of a new front extremism. Okay. So now we see impact of key legislation. What are the key legislation impacts we have? So one thing is we should know about Forest Right Act, because before itself I told you environment and indigenous rights also causing. So under that we have one important act, that is Forest Right Act 2006. What is the objective of this act? Let us have a little bit look into the act. The objective is to recognize and vest forest right in forest dweller communities, particularly tribal population. So we have to give the rights to forest dwellers, particularly to tribes. That is the objective. So what was the impact? So empowerment of local communities, reducing grievances related to land alienation. However, inadequate implementation has led to persistent conflicts over land rights, contributing to LWE. So left-wing extremism recruitment, right? So the policies are not properly implemented. We should be focusing on implementation measures also now, so that grievances are addressed and there will be no land alienation, right? So this is one of the act. Second is we have Forest Conservation Act 2022. One is Forest Right Act, one more is Forest Conservation Act. This act aims at improving forest governance and ensuring sustainable forest management. So it is focusing on forest governance and sustainable forest management. What was the impact? While intended to protect forest, stringent regulations can sometimes alienate local communities reliant on forest resources, thereby inadvertently fueling discontent and again causing left-wing extremism support. So if it is like, yeah, you're focusing on sustainability, but you can't take out the rights of those community people who are dependent on the forest. If we are doing, again they'll also support to extremists, right? So that is the thing. These two acts have an importance. Also we have one more thing, that is exclusion from 5th schedule. So what is it? So the 5th schedule of Constitution provides for administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes, as we know, right? So what is the impact? Exclusion of certain tribal areas from this framework can undermine the protection of tribal rights, leading to increased resentment and rise in LWE sympathies. So if you are not properly doing or excluding some of the tribal areas, then again a problem comes. So policy wise also we have three laws: Forest Right Act, Forest Conservation Act 2022, and then 5th schedule exclusion. From these three policies also we have to be properly implementing, so as to like reduce left-wing extremism. Now we'll see what is the impact of left-wing extremism. Of course, what is the impact? Human cost. We'll be having a life lost, right? Casualties will be there. Then economic, social. See, socio-economic they are fighting, and that will be not provided in return. Human loss also will happen. This is a problem with LWE. Human cost, thousands of lives lost, including security personnel and civilians, even security personals. Economic disruption. LWE affects local economies by disrupting agricultural activities and deterring investment. So people won't be ready to invest in such areas, isn't it? So with that, there will be no economic development again. Social fragmentation, such an important word. Social fragmentation. If it is a society, social fragmentation will happen. Increased polarization leads to distrust between communities and the state. So now it will increase, still more increase. It will become like a cycle. The problem will rotate. Problem will be not resolved. So that is a problem with LWE. So how government is responding for this is important now for us. So government is having security measures. It deployed CAPF, Central Armed Police Force, and establishment of a specialized task force so that will control left-wing extremism so as to develop social and economically that particular area. Then see, I told development is needed. That's why the next point is development initiatives. Implementation of programs like integrated action plan to provide basic amenities in LWE affected areas. What is that? Integrated action plan we are taking up. Then surrender and rehabilitation policies, encouraging militant to reintegrate into society. So we can't leave them also because they are also citizens of India and we want to encourage them to be back to society and live peacefully, right? Yeah, that's the thing. So first thing is provide security so that we will be stopping that extremism. Then develop it. Once you are developed, slowly people also get back to work and then the economic development will happen, society will change and we'll have a happy India. That is the target ultimately. So what is the challenges? But this is what we should do. But what are the challenges in combating left-wing extremism? There are challenges. See, again and again we are using interagency coordination problem. So there is a coordination problem. Lack of unified command result in inefficiencies. Then see, second point similar. Complex threat environment. Balancing traditional military concerns with non-traditional threats like cybersecurity and climate change again is a problem. Then we have a technology gap also. Then we have resource allocation problem as well. Okay. So these are similar points. These are the problems we are facing. Then we have key recommendation for strong. Yeah, that is all for left-wing extremism. This is kind of repetition. I'm sorry. Yeah, next we will be talking about women in left-wing extremism. So before talking that, we will wind up for today and we'll take it up in next class so that you will be revising today's class and coming for the upcoming class. So that's all for today. Have a good day.